Hello, Facebook Live world for what the heck is today? It's Wednesday, April 12th, 2017. Steve Sipress here with my daily Facebook Live video, and I've been thinking about this all day. I spoke about it yesterday, that what I would talk about today, and I've been giving it thought all day and ready to press that button, and then let me think about it some more, and ready to press that button, I gotta think about it some more. It's a big topic, and almost undoubtedly it's something I'll revisit, and it deserves multiple videos and discussions about this. But I also wanted to kind of wait till later in the day, because I found that for some reason I get a little more engagement when I do these videos later in the day. Hey Brian, so there you go. So thank you. Somebody is here who is a fantastic entrepreneur in his own right. So here's what I wanted to discuss. I went to an event for entrepreneurs on Monday night, first one I've attended in a while, and first one that I haven't spoken at that I've attended, and I don't even remember when. But I was going to support and help out the speaker who was in town, and so I went over there, and I had a discussion at one point with somebody who I sat next to, who is a top performing salesperson and sets records and does great and always hits quota and wherever he goes. And hey, Brian. And so we had this discussion, and he was telling me about a sales conversation, a sales pitch meeting that he had that day with a prospect. And he was all proud of the product that he represents. And first of all, I love that. I mean, if I'm going to sell something, I always want to represent the most expensive, top of the line, highest quality thing in the entire marketplace, because I would much rather answer the question, why is your price so high, than why does your thing suck so bad? I mean, come on. That's what a softball. You know, to have to justify the high price with some kind of an answer around because it's awesomely great, because it'll solve every problem you have, and because it's better than everything else, and all those kind of things. I mean, what a great, I love getting that question. I would never want to represent the cheapest thing, because then they'd go, how come your price is so low? Isn't there any other way you can try and get our business? Or do you understand and admit, because you do, that your product is so bad that the only way you could possibly sell it is to have the lowest price? Well, I wouldn't want to have to answer that. Like, yeah, you're right, it does suck, but low price. Like, that's not going to be me. Anyway, so, but here's the deal. This, he was telling me about how stupid the buyer was. And this I hear all the time from salespeople. They even have a saying, I don't know if you heard it, Brian, have you heard this, where the salespeople will, you know, do their sales presentation, the person doesn't buy, they come back to the office, and they're like, well, you can't sell stupid. You can't sell stupid. And I'm like, right, you can't sell stupid. So whose fault is it that the buyer is stupid, or let's just say uninformed of how valuable your product or service could be to them? Whose fault is that? That's your fault. So yes, you can't sell stupid, so your job is to educate them so they're no longer stupid, and then you can sell them, or they can buy, or however you want to phrase the thing. So yeah, you can't sell stupid, and you just admitted that you did a really bad job of educating your prospect and giving them the buying criteria, and explaining and asking the right questions, and getting to the point where they understood that they had a problem that you could solve. Then they would be smart enough to buy, right? So anyway, and that was the case here. He was like, man, I represent something, it's something for doctors, and it's such a great thing, and we're the #1 of whatever we do at the country, and in the valley here, 95% of the clinics have this thing, and they all say you just have to have it. So I went to one of the few that didn't have it, and the manager or the whoever or the whatever, or the buyer, you know, the person who makes a decision, was like, yeah, you know, we've had a bad experience before with something like it or some other company. And he was like, yeah, but you understand that, you know, that's because they're a small company and we're bigger. And then the bottom line was, every objection and every reason she threw at him for not buying, he parried back like in the old days, when I was taught that sales is like a boxing match. You know, they come at you with an objection and you overcome it. And they come at saying it's a boxing match, and who's going to win? The salesperson or the buyer? And if they don't buy, that means they sold you and they won and you lost. And, you know, man, I mean, you know, again, this person is a very successful salesperson. So clearly this works for him, and it works for many people. It's not my style. And I was like, wow, that real. I mean, you really came at her, and you're right. You're right about everything you said. I mean, she should have it. There's really no reason she should have. But I was like, wow, that's really aggressive. It's kind of harsh. I mean, in one thing, I was like, you didn't leave her any real chance to buy now and still save face. I mean, in order to buy now, she has to admit, gee, I was an idiot, and you're right, and I was dumb, and you were smart, and who's going to buy in that situation? I mean, she still has all the power, and she'd rather knowingly harm her clinic and her patients than lose face to you in the selling situation. And that's natural, it's human nature. I mean, so I don't like to back the prospect into a corner to prove how wrong they are to win when I'm selling. Again, that personal style could work for you, Brian, maybe yours, although knowing you, I don't think that's yours, but that many people have that style. Here's my style, and I suggested what I would have done in the situation. And some of the things I would have done is said, man, what I do in that situation is I realize that I got to do a heck of a lot more research. I got to go on a recon mission here. I've got to find a problem that she has that I can solve, that she'll admit and understand and acknowledge that she has that problem. And then she might ask questions about, but does your thing really do this, or can it do that, or such and such, and I'll let her buy instead of me selling. I don't even come from the world of overcoming objections. Believe me, I've been to every sales training there is, and I've given every sales training. I've read every sales book and gone every conference pretty much that there is. And I don't like this whole overcoming objections. I like to do such a good job in the selling situation that objections don't come up. I also don't like closes. I don't do closing and closes. I mean, people that buy from me just ask me, okay, so can you please take me on as a client? Or how would I get started? Or how could I possibly work with you? Like that. That's the situations I like to be in. So maybe I'm too passive about it. This person too aggressive about it, but it works for me, works for him. Yeah, not a chance. Brian, I had a feeling. Not a chance that you are the aggressive, bull-rushing, yeah, but, yeah, but, yeah, but, yeah, but, my thing is great, you're stupid guy. And again, nobody would say you're stupid, but it's suggested, it's implied by that kind of a sales conversation. And again, I'm like, why would that person buy from me? I don't like a person to lose face buying from me to admit, yeah, I was wrong and you were right, I'm going to buy that. Like, I don't know, it just doesn't work for me. Somebody says, I want to buy. I like what you're doing there. I mean, that's because to me, the sale is not the end. Lots of sales reps and salespeople, the sale is the end. Okay, now I hand that over to the department to make the widget or deliver the service or whatever they do, and I move on to the next kill. And I go on to the next presentation. Like, to me, the work doesn't begin until the sale's made. So I don't want to begin a relationship with a pressured sale being made. I want to begin with a conversational, you can tell I haven't been out there in the world of sales in a while. I don't remember all the buzzwords for it, but this whole, agreement of the minds kind of sale. And okay, so where do you want to start? And where do we go from here? And what would you like? And the Dan Sullivan question, if I was if we were to meet 3 years from today, 1 year from today, whatever you want to say, his question is 3 years from today, what would have had to happen in those 3 years for you to be happy with the fact that you bought from me, with our relationship? And I like to get that question and see if I can get to that point. And if not, I can say, well, actually, that I can't do that, but I know somebody that can, or I'll find somebody that can, or I'll remember you if I do find somebody that can. And usually I know somebody that can solve problems for people, because I make it my business to know lots of people and lots of things going on. So I like to say when I can't solve the problem, but there it gave you a hint to my personal selling style. So I said here, what I look at that as a personal challenge to me, not to beat the person down to make the sale, but to go on a recon mission and find a problem. And I enjoy it. I like doing puzzles and games, and people that know me and follow me, back in the day, I was a big game player, and I would play in tournaments, and I wouldn't, I was on the chess club, and I wouldn't backgammon tournaments, Monopoly tournament, chess tournament, whatever game it is. I built a fantasy sports game business from scratch to the largest in the industry. It was a game. I love games. I love puzzles. I love games. I love, solving that mystery, and that's how I looked at it, how I look at any sales situation. I'd say, man, I would look to find something. So what I would do is say, let's reschedule, and I'll be back again next Tuesday at 3 o'clock or whatever, and then I'm going to mosey on into that office on Monday at 3 or something, or Tuesday at 1 o'clock, and, some not at the right time, and so I can do some recon here. The person behind the desk is going to say, oh, no, your appointment's tomorrow, or no, your appointment's not for 2 hours. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I must have messed it up. Hey, meanwhile, let me just ask you something, Mary, behind the desk there. Does anyone ever call up and ask this? Does anyone ever complain about that? As pertains to whatever the heck my thing deals with, in this case was some kind of lab work, something. It was like, when people get their report, do they ever complain that they don't really understand the results, and therefore they have to speak to a doctor again, and that takes the doctor's precious time, which we all know doctors are overwhelmed with how many patients they got to see these days in so little time. So doesn't that hurt the fact, or how about you? Don't they have you behind the desk having to do all the Obama work, paperwork, all the Obamacare, and it's overwhelming, all the paperwork and the insurance crap that the doctor's offices have to go through. So if you've got to take that call and explain to the person to go through it, like, doesn't that take your time? Well, how much is your time worth? And I'm thinking like, oh, $20 an hour. He was like, no, she makes about $12 an hour. I'm like, all right, but still $12 an hour. If you can get her to admit that it's about 2 hours a week, maybe, of these calls that she's got to go through because that lab report wasn't done properly or clearly or something or whatever that could be easily fixed. And that's a week, that's 100 hours a year times 12 is $12. $1,200. So over the next 5 years, that's $6,000. Now, if it's a doctor's time, it's worth a lot more, and on and on. And I'm going to uncover some situations and expose some pain and translate it into dollars so that pain and those dollars dwarf the dollar cost of my solution, so that the person naturally understands all this. And I say, you might not even know what. Have you asked Mary? And this is my style. I'm going to ask questions. I believe in asking questions when I'm doing sales. So I'm not going to, after all this recon, then go to the buyer and say, hey, you know what I found out from Mary? I found out that she wastes a lot of hours doing these calls and going over this and then this and that and whatever. I'm not going to, I'm not the expert to tell her stuff. I'm going to ask questions. Say, by the way, just curious, have you ever talked to Mary and asked her about how the patients, whether they understand these lab results and what happens once they get the lab results? Have you ever asked her about that? Because you might want to ask her, because I asked her about it. And usually the person will not say, oh, okay, I'll ask her. They'll say, well, tell me, dude, I'm right here. Tell me, what'd you find? Well, she said that, as this many people call and they're confused, and that's not good for the patients and their state of mind and how confident they are in the services here, but it also is taking the time, and sometimes it escalates where it's got to get on the phone, the doctor's got to get on the phone, or the nurse practitioner, or person behind the whatever. It's costing you time, and it's costing you money, and it's inefficiency in the business. It can all be solved if the report was just done better. But, that's the way most labs are done. They don't really understand that issue, and they don't have the staff to overcome it because they're small. We're the biggest, and we're the best, and we put a lot of time and energy and R&D into that, and we've come up with this, and our thing, blah, 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 and it does this. Now, here's another thing. Did you know that, Mary, did you ever ask your nurse practitioner about such and such? And whatever, and I'm going to go to the website, and I'm going to make a visit to the place, and I might even be in the waiting room and ask a patient next to me who's looking over something or looking up at the something or looking at a whatever and ask, hey, do you understand what that poster means over there about such and such? Or do you understand? I want to get some recon here because I'm looking to uncover problems. And then my job, as I see it, as the salesperson, is to twist the knife. Okay, is to build up those problems till they're big enough that the buyer believes they're worth solving. Because the buyer doesn't know everything I don't know everything that's going on. I don't know all the pain points in my business. I got people around the world working in my business. I don't know all the things they're dealing with and going through. I don't know that when I give them something to do and I have them use a certain software or log into my whatever and use that they're sighing and going like, oh, he's still using that thing. That thing is horrid, and it takes me an extra hour to such and such, and then I can't properly do his tweets or whatever they're doing and whatever. Like, I wish he would just get this. Like, man, I didn't know that. Like, so it'd be nice if a salesperson came to me and said, "Hey, did you ever ask the person that handles your social media or that does the layout for your magazine or handles the podcasting or sets up the interviews or this and that, if whatever and this and that and if wow, yeah, I never knew that." Well, we have a solution for that. We have an app. We have a software. We have a this. We have a script. We have a something. So that's what I like to do. So that's just my personal style. Yeah, it's called a relationship. Right. Yeah, that's what I like, and that's what I enjoy. See, some people like, and I'm suspecting that these aggressive salespeople, what they like about the sale is to kill the sale, make that sale. What I like, and I'm going to keep talking, but maybe you don't hear me. I'm back now. I don't know if I was gone, but I got an error message that my intermittent crummy internet connection up here in the middle of nowhere up on a mountain wasn't good for change. So I apologize for that, and hopefully you can see me and I'm back, and I'm getting some things floating across the screen, so hopefully I'm back. And yeah, that's what I love, Brian. I like the relationships. Again, I like the fact that the sale doesn't start until the sale is made. Now the relationship really begins, and I can fulfill, and I can help, and I can then bring them along, and maybe they'll buy some more or something else, or I can recommend something even that I'm not selling from another company, or shoot them over some articles that might have interest. Yeah, that's. Thank you for explaining that. That is how I see the whole sales business and the whole deal. Like, I like the fact that I get to meet all different people in all different circumstances, and I got to figure out what problems they have, and then if I can, if I've got a product or service that can solve that problem, man, I feel great. That's great. But often, if they don't they don't feel that that problem is big enough to solve, then it's my responsibility to, like I say, to twist the knife, which is a tough way of saying it, but I mean to build that problem up, build their awareness. That's a better way of saying it, to build their awareness of the urgency or the size of that problem and the fact that they really do want to solve it. But I don't do that by telling. Okay, in my world, in my style, telling is not selling. Okay, I like to ask questions, and maybe that comes from my training where I have my law degree. Because as lawyers, we're taught to ask questions. That's pretty much in the courtroom. That's all a lawyer can do. Now, I know you probably see the TV shows or the movies of lawyers, and if you were watching with me, I'd be at home screaming at the team. You can't do. He just made a statement, and you can't do that. You can only ask questions. You can't be Perry Mason and ask a question. Where were you on the night of the 13th? And the guy says, "Well, I was wherever." And you say, "No, you weren't. You can't do that." You can only ask questions as an attorney. So maybe that's where it came from. But that's how I see my role. And that's my personal style. I've got to sift through the facts and uncover them and get to the solution, and I've got to communicate that to the person that I'm in front of. That because I look at this the selling situation as that relationship, that I'm on their side of the table. It's to both of our advantage to solve this problem. I get paid and I make a sale, and they get the solution. And so I think it was Zig Ziglar who said, one of his sayings, I love the Zig, and one of his sayings was, timid salespeople have skinny kids. But he also said, I always, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, but I did wear his cassette tapes out. For people watching don't remember or know what that is. It's a form of listening to stuff in the car. And I remember wearing out cassette tapes. I mean, I wore out the tapes, and I had to get a new one. I don't think the DVDs or, what do you use now, MP3s or iPods or whatever people listen on now, I don't think they really wear out because they're like electronic. They're like computerized. But I wore out those tapes of Zig, all of them. I loved them. So, but it's been a while, so I'll paraphrase. But he said something like, I've got to work as hard as I can to transfer my enthusiasm about my product to my buyer, so they buy. Because the worst thing will happen is that I go out the door and they still have their problem and I still have their solution, and I walk out the door. And again, I'm paraphrasing, but it just brings me back that that's the worst thing to me as a salesperson, is knowing I could have solved the problem, but I'm leaving and they still have their problem, and in my pocket, I still have their solution. That's terrible. Man, that sucks. I did such a bad job. I didn't ask the right questions. I didn't build up that need and that urgency, that awareness in them that they should be solving this problem. I let myself walk away with the solution of their problem. I consider that a fail in the selling word. So that's how I look at it. So how do you? Anyone here that's, well, Brian, I think, is the only one here now. I see Faith. Faith was or is here. Hi, Faith. Thanks for being here. Love you. I know Faith is on a lot of my videos. I love that. So if you guys, put a comment in, or if you're watching the replay, put a comment in. Let me know. Maybe, am I, am I crazy? I mean, is this not work anymore? It's been a while since I've been out there in the sales field. Maybe that's just not how it's done. And by the way, I think it depends on what you're selling and to whom you're selling it. So in this case, like this is being sold to doctors or to people that run medical clinics, like high-minded people that have some advanced degrees, and the more the elite, respected people of the world and that kind of thing. You ought to approach that situation the way they're used to being approached. But if you're selling stuff to regular good old people, they could appreciate more of a just straightforward, just, tell me what's going on approach. And also it depends on what you're selling. If you're selling a very simple item, a low-priced simple item, a pack of gum, like, you don't have to, I wouldn't be asking like a lot of questions. I might say, what's your favorite flavor? Do you like sugarless or sugarful? I don't know. Obviously never sold gum. But, do you like raspberry or spearmint? Or obviously I don't eat chew gum. So bad example to pick, by the way. But I just wanted to pick something that's a low price, low level, simple product. You really could just say, look, I got gum here. I did do door-to-door sales for 9 years with that kind of stuff. I said, look, I got a teddy bear. And these teddy bear like this is in the store for 20 bucks, but we got them out here, we're blowing them out for $5 a piece. How many you want? And people go like, oh, that's really soft. And well, I'll take 4 of them, and I'll take 2 of them, and like that. So product level sales are very quick, do you want it or not? But if you're selling a high-ticket, intangible sale, which I normally do for my business and for a lot of my clients that are consultants and attorneys and business owners and remodelers and home air quality service salespeople. These are intangible sales. I'm not just selling you the heating air conditioning unit. I'm selling you the better quality of the air, the health of your family and your pets, and you're better sleeping at night. And so that's a bigger intangible sale. Well, it's a whole different selling tactics and style is involved. So one thing I want you to get from this is it's okay. There are all different styles. But you want to figure out what your personal style is that you can be confident with, that you enjoy, that you can do, and then you want to do it the very best you can. And if you want help with that, as always, I always say at the end of these videos, if you want help, shoot me a private message or hit me up on Twitter at Steve Sipress or Steve at Steve Sipress email, or however you want to get a hold of me, put a comment in there, and I'll get on the phone and I'll help you out. And because, again, I enjoy that relationship. So that's my gift for you for watching my Facebook Live video. Brian, thanks for being here, and Faith, and anybody watching on the replay. And if you miss it here, as always, I'm going to put this up on my daily blog. It'll go on my daily podcast. It'll go on my YouTube. It'll go on my Twitter. It'll go all over Facebook with all the different pages I manage and the groups that I manage. And it'll go all over the place, and it'll stay here right here on Facebook. So I hope you'll join me every day for another Facebook Live video. And until tomorrow, it's Steve Sipress. You can tell it's getting a little dark here. Top of my head's getting just a little bit shiny. Maybe I won't do videos at night here. That is some awfully shiny head you got there, Steve. So thanks for joining me. Have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday, and I'll catch you again tomorrow. Over and out.